All right. Hello, everyone. This is David Bitton, CEO here at PracticePanther. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today and let you know to please send us any questions you have in the chat, and we will do our best to cover them in the end. If we don't have time to get to all the questions, we will email you back with an answer, so don't worry about it. For everyone tuning in, you can pull up the main webinar screen now. On the bottom right, you will see the box to send us a message. That's actually the chat box. So you need to click on the chat icon on the left and change it to the question icon, and that's where we'll get your questions. And we will do our best to answer all of them at the end. And you could also click on the webinar video itself, our faces, or the screen anytime to pause it if you have to run somewhere. Just click again. It will just keep resuming from where you left off. We're also going to be recording this webinar, so everyone will receive an email afterwards to review it, and you will be able to replay it shortly after it ends. So we are very excited to have Steve Fretzin with us today. I actually met Steve's manager, sales associate, I believe, at the ABA Tech Show in Chicago in March this year. And I was blown away by his story and how he's helped attorneys all over the world. So Steve, first off, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, David. Great to be here.
Of course. And to start things off, I'll give everyone a little bio about Steve. So from what I know, he's a driven, focused, and passionate premier business coach that helps attorneys reach their full potential. He's also a well-known speaker and author on business development specifically for attorneys. He's devoted his entire career to helping lawyers master the art of business to achieve personal and professional freedom. His first book recently came out titled Sales-Free Selling, The Death of Sales and the Rise of a New Methodology. I love the title. And it pretty much guides attorneys through the essentials of acquiring new clients and building lasting professional partnerships. So Steve, I'm going to throw the PowerPoint up in a second, but kind of tell us how you got started in this industry. Were you a lawyer? How'd you get involved in all this?
Yeah, really, I'm not a lawyer. I sort of fell into this 2007, 2008. I had a very successful coaching business working mainly with entrepreneurs and sales teams around the country and mainly in Chicago here. And then when the recession happened, lawyers started calling me. My phone started ringing, and they were looking to find start their own firm or find a new job and needed a book of business. And it became very clear and apparent that lawyers that have a book of business that they can call their own clients, have the freedom and the ability to sort of, run their own career. And when you're beholden to doing other people's work or not being able to pay your bills because you don't have enough business, that this was a niche that I could really fill. And what's nice about working with attorneys is that they mostly have a clean slate. They don't really have a lot of bad habits. So the idea that we could help them, start to build plans and processes into their world has really been a lot of fun to do.
Amazing. So I'm going to I see you now. So tell us about the books that you wrote.
Yeah, so the first one was really about, as I mentioned, the death of sales. I'm not a big fan of sales, a big fan of salespeople. So my whole methodology revolves around the idea of not selling and not being pitchy. I really believe in things like questioning, listening, more of a consultative type of approach. Right. And really walking a buyer through a buying decision versus trying to convince or sell or pitch. And so my book, Sales-Free Selling, is actually interesting in that it's really a story of an entrepreneur, a salesperson, and a lawyer who meet a coach, and they have to learn all these new methodologies. And so it's really kind of an interesting take on learning a sales-free process to grow a practice. Awesome. And then more recently, the Attorney's Networking Handbook, which is more about just networking, how to be effective with networking. Most of the people that I talk to, attorneys in particular, struggle with time management and how do you network efficiently and effectively. And this gives a lot of my secrets away as far as how to really be a solid networker and get real results from the time that you invest.
Amazing. And give us kind of a rundown of what the agenda is for today.
Sure. So obviously, if we're going to be successful at business development, we have to have a good attitude. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to create a strong attitude. And most of the attorneys I work with are out there just winging it, and they're just out there networking and just trying to figure it out as they go. And I talk a little bit about why that's not an effective strategy. and how we need to start developing some processes in how we network our businesses. And then leading into the book Sales Free Selling, giving away some of the highlights of that book and really how to stop selling and to start asking and learning and again, being more consultative. And then I do want to do a little bit of a demo on some e-learning and how to actually learn business development from my e-learning site called Origination Station, which I'll share with you at the end of the program.
Awesome. Amazing. All right. So to get started, we're going to have the first slide, developing a stronger attitude, with a nice little picture over here. So what's this about?
So it's an interesting slide in the sense that there are a number of things that I've found that drive people to succeed, whether you're an athlete or a chef or a musician, and you wanna take things to the next level. There's three things that you focus on. One is behaviors, doing the right things. Another is having a positive attitude. And the last is really belief. What's your belief in yourself and that you can accomplish things? And I always like to ask the audience to vote on that type of thing because people say, well, it's got to be behaviors or it's got to be attitudes, it's got to be beliefs. And the answer is that it really is all three. However, I have found that behaviors is really the trigger. And when you can have a positive behavior and do things in a positive way in that world, if you go back to the last slide real quick, I'll just show you. If you have positive behaviors, it leads to a positive attitude and it leads to belief in yourself that you can accomplish things, and you're going to want to continue those behaviors. And I'll give a quick example. Let's say that the behavior is making regular calls to your networking contacts or to your clients. And when you make those positive calls and accomplish those things, you feel good about your day. You feel good about, yourself. And the belief in yourself that you can build a book of business is going to continue to build. And you're going to want to continue those behaviors. Take the opposite approach. If you don't make those calls and you know that you should, and whether you realize it or not, your attitude is getting beaten down. Okay, because you're not really following through on the things you have to do to have a business that's going to be sustainable. And your attitude is not great. Your belief in yourself starts to get challenged, and then you're not going to want to do those behaviors again and again, and you're in a negative cycle. So we're really going to want to talk about how to build strong behaviors as a way to keep our attitude and our belief at a very high level.
So it sounds like once you get in the habit of doing things over and over and over again, that's what makes you succeed. You have good habits every single day, which kind of leads us, I guess, to our next slide, creating positive habits.
Yeah, and so there's a book out there that written by Charles Duhigg, came out a few years ago called The Power of Habit. And it's really interesting because he spent a lot of time researching and studying how bad habits stay bad habits and how good habits can be formed.
Right.
And he came up with a very simple sort of explanation of this, and I'm just paraphrasing what was in the book. I highly recommend the book. The first is to realize what's your cue. What's going to set off a positive habit? And in the sense of someone that wants to make phone calls to help them stay in front of their contacts, a simple cue would be to put a meeting invite for yourself as a task in your calendar. Okay. Right. So 8 o'clock, something pings and says, hey, Steve, it's time to make your calls, send out emails. Great. Then you want to get in the routine of every Monday morning at 8 o'clock, making those calls. All right. And then the reward would be, I'm not going to have my morning coffee, or I'm not going to have my morning breakfast or Danish or whatever it is that I'm going to reward myself with on Monday mornings until after I complete the task.
Wow.
All right.
I love that.
So let's talk about bad behaviors, because your bad behavior might be that you're not making these kinds of calls. Your bad behavior might be smoking or biting your nails or whatever. Yeah. And so, he also identifies ways to break bad habits, and I'd feel bad about not sharing what he talked about there. I don't want to, just give you the how to make a good habit. There's ways to break bad habits.
So let me ask you, actually, because I have a terrible habit of waking up in the morning, going on my phone in bed, and sitting there for an hour before getting up? How do I break that bad habit?
Okay, so let's follow the habit loop. The cue is that you wake up and your phone is next to you, right?
Yes.
So so the routine is that every morning you're doing that. So the first thing we'd want to do is look at what the cue is. Clearly, the cue is that you have your phone in the same room with you.
So move it to a different room.
Move it to a different room. Now, that's one of many things that you might identify would help you break that type of a habit. Okay?
Steve, I love you. Thank you.
If that works, you owe me big time, right?
Oh, I'm definitely doing it tonight. My wife's going to be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. So I, for example, I have my phone downstairs, and I go to bed every night. I plug it into the charger. I leave it downstairs. I go up into bed, and it's nowhere near me. So the idea that I'm going to wake up and first thing in the morning go downstairs and get my phone and go back into bed, right, probably isn't going to happen, because once you're up, you're up.
Right. So for people that have trouble getting out of bed or they keep pressing snooze, you'd recommend for them put your alarm in a different room or further away so it forces you to get out of bed.
Yeah, figure out what the cue is that's leading to the bad habit or the routine, and start from there. And then I think you want to give yourself something that makes you feel good, like maybe, oh, there you go.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So maybe the reward would be that you start looking at your phone, over your morning coffee at the kitchen table, and start checking emails then, versus doing it in bed where you're maybe not going to be as productive.
Got it. Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm excited for the what is it called? The 3Ps methodology.
Yeah. So what I thought I would do was to just give you some ideas about what am I seeing on what makes an attorney successful at growing a practice. And the interesting thing, David, is it really isn't that different than what you would see in an athlete, a chef, a musician, anyone that wants to be successful. If they follow these 3Ps, again, with positive behaviors, because you have to have those positive behaviors, you will see some tremendous success. Okay. Now, on the other side, if you don't have these things, you can see people flailing for years, not really making the kind of movement that they need to make.
Right. Got it.
The first thing that anyone needs to be successful is they need to have a plan. Okay. And the way that I plan is to establish what's your objective. And let's just take business development as a key element here, because that's the focus. All right. So let's say, for example, that as a solo practitioner, you're doing $200,000 in business a year. All right.
Yep.
Your goal is that you want to get that number up to 400 or 500,000.
Yep.
That's a pretty big jump, but is it possible? We may be able to figure out how to do that. Okay. So the objective would be writing something down, like, for example, in a plan that would say, my objective is to achieve $400,000 in originations by August 10th, 2018.
So you put a deadline to it also.
Put a deadline, but keep it big and hairy and nasty and scary. That's fine, okay? Because what we do after that is we're going to break it down into strategies. And the strategies might be the different ways that you foresee achieving that objective. What's the low-hanging fruit? What are the things that might be right in front of you that if you had good process, you would be able to achieve? So, for example, let's say you're an excellent speaker. Well, before you go to process, let's with the strategy. So let's say you're an excellent speaker, and speaking is something that if you were to tighten it up and get in front of better audiences and have better process around it, you could really knock the ball out of park. Well, then you want to have that as one of your strategies. Let's say that you have 50 clients and they all think you're terrific, and you're out there running around like a chicken with its head cut off, networking at every function. You may want to just focus on how do you leverage your clients to get referrals, to get some better introductions, maybe to even identify that there's more business they could throw your way if you just spend time with them. So looking at that as a strategy, okay? Or yes, indeed, you may want to go network, and we'll talk about networking in a few minutes, but there might be some better ways to network to be effective in that. So the strategies are going to be the main ways that you see yourself developing your book of business. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is that's not where it stops with me. When I work with attorneys on building a plan, we really focus on the tactics. And the tactics are the actionable things that are going to make the strategies happen. All right. So think of that as the GPS. If you're trying to get somewhere and you have a GPS that says turn left, turn right, stop here, do this, do that, it's going to make getting to that destination much more convenient, easy, and certainly less mistakes along the way.
Got it. So
yeah, David.
Well, I was gonna say, like, it's funny what you said that before, because it's similar to kind of losing weight. They always say if you want to lose weight, you say I will lose 20 pounds by December 10th. So it's very similar to this, where I want to make $200,000 more by December 10th. It's very similar mentalities.
Right. And then imagine that you're breaking it down into actually writing out menus of what you're going to eat every day, so you don't have to worry about what you're going to eat. Right. You have the calories counted out. You're clearing all the food out of your house other than the food that's going to help you lose weight. You've got a coach in your corner. You've got a partner you're doing it with. So everything is laid out in such a way that it really allows you the ability to succeed. Now, the other option, which is 98% of the lawyers that I work with, have no plan at all. They're winging it every day. Whatever comes in, comes in. Whatever they do, they do. Some things work, some things don't. There's no way to track it. There's no way to measure it. And that's what we're dealing with. It's not really an effective way to go.
Well, it's more reactionary working more than proactive working.
Exactly. And so a written plan that is laid out in a very specific way that resonates with you as the business developer, that's going to be the first P of my 3 Ps methodology.
Got it. And the second P, I'm guessing, is process.
It's got to be process. And so it's interesting how, and again, lawyers are not at fault in the sense that they don't teach this in law school. They don't teach this at the law firm level. There's no way to learn this really as a solo. So, there isn't a school for this really, other than maybe, me or others that try to teach this type of information. But if you're going to walk into a courtroom for the very first time, let's say you've never been to law school, you've seen a couple episodes of Law and Order, you've watched My Cousin Vinny 10 times, right? So you have a basis of understanding what a courtroom is and who's involved.
Yeah.
But you've never been trained as a lawyer to do any of this stuff, meaning there's no process. Okay. You just walk in, you're representing your client, and you say, "Hey, Your Honor, we're here." Okay. There's no process. That's what most lawyers are walking into at a networking event. That's what they're walking into when they sit down with a new prospective client. Without process, you're really just, you hope they like you, or you hope that they need you, and they hope that they sign. Well, hope is a 4-letter word that is a very difficult pill to swallow these days, especially when buyers are very challenging and risk averse. So we do want to talk about process, and we will talk about process as a number of line items we're going to focus on in this presentation.
Steve, I got to say, you remind me of a guy I watch on TV a lot. Can you guess what show it is?
A guy who watches TV a lot?
No, a guy that I watch on TV a lot. He's got a show, and he talks about process.
And he talks about process.
He helps business owners, struggling business owners, and one of the things he says is, I'll give you more of a hint: people, process, and product.
Oh, okay. You're talking about Marcus?
Yeah, Marcus Lemonis, the prophet. Yeah.
So, it's interesting how right this guy is. Every business he goes into, there's always a problem with the people. There's always a problem with the process. There's always issues with the way that they're putting their products out there. This is very similar.
Yeah. And the third P is performance improvement.
Yeah. So if you guys have all heard the saying, practice makes perfect, right? We've all heard that from when we were little kids growing up and on. And what I'm saying is that is absolutely not true, and I can prove it. I go and I practice golf all the time. I go to the driving range, I get a bucket of balls, and I'm practicing golf. It doesn't make me perfect, right?
Yeah.
Okay? And most people that play golf can resonate with that. The problem is that I'm not practicing perfectly. And that's what I'm trying to teach lawyers, that working a process is not necessarily the only thing you have to think about. It's how do you work the process, see where you can improve, make that improvement, and then you're practicing perfectly.
Got it.
So again, planning, number 1, process number 2, improving your performance with the processes and with the plan over time. That's what makes someone a business developer that's going to be sustainable throughout a career where they're not leaving much to chance.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Makes sense. All right, so let's see what's next. Let's discover what you are bringing to the table. So you're going to talk about SWOT analysis here.
Yeah, so this is not something we're going to spend a lot of time on, David, but it is something important to think about because it's a marketing play that's been around forever, and most people never take the time to just maybe spend 15 minutes or even a half an hour sitting down to think about what are your strengths? What are you bringing to the table? Okay, your internal value to growing a bigger book, meaning what are your internal abilities? What are your strengths? Meaning, is it a big network? Okay, do you have a big network of people that think you're wonderful? Do you have a great client base? Do you have a speciality that you have that no one else has, or that you have in your area that no one else has? Looking at what you're doing that is really giving you a leg up than maybe someone else. Okay.
Right. Got it.
On the same end, what are you not bringing to the table? What are some of your weaknesses? Maybe you're shy and introverted. Maybe you're, you're not quite an expert at the law yet in certain areas. So you're going to want to look at your weaknesses to either decide it's something that you should stay away from or something that you need to fix.
So I have a question for you because I see a lot of new attorneys, solo practitioners, and on their website, they might have like 20 practice areas. Like, we do it all, but like, I know they don't know how to do everything perfectly. So do you recommend starting big and then kind of finding your strengths and then kind of going niche market and making it smaller as you go on?
Yeah, I think if you're on your own from the very beginning and you really don't have a speciality or something that you've invested a lot of time learning and working in, you may have to throw a pretty big net. That's one, obviously one direction to go. The other option is if there's something that you feel really strongly that you do better than someone else or that you can do equally as well, you may just want to focus on telling everybody you do that one thing, because then when they think of the lawyer that does estate planning or the lawyer that does elder law or intellectual property, then they just think of you. When you throw out the big net, you can capture maybe a lot of different things, but no one's really going to think about you for anything in particular. So you got to look at the pros and cons of that. And that's, again, where I think this SWOT analysis will help you identify, what type of net you should use, or is it a direct fishing line? Got it.
Okay. And then opportunities is kind of like looking for opportunities that exist.
Well, yeah, I think it's more external, where strengths and weaknesses are more internal to you. Opportunities are going to be more external to the marketplace. So, for example, somebody in Chicago that wants to get into marijuana law, it's kind of the right timing because it just went legal on the medical side, and they're, obviously pushing for it to go legal, like in Colorado and in Washington.
Yep.
That's the future potentially for marijuana in Illinois, maybe to help save us from being bankrupt, which we are. Probably the worst, government that any state has right now. So thinking about the external opportunities in the marketplace and where you fit in and what are you interested in? What excites you? Those might be the things that you want to really pick apart. On the other side of it, what are the threats? What are the things in the marketplace that you really should run away from? There's a book out there from years ago that I'm not going to say, recommend it or not, but it's called Blue Ocean Strategy or Blue Ocean Marketing. You heard that?
Yeah.
And to narrow it down, similar to the Charles Duhigg book, it says, the ocean is bloodied red with competition. Go where the blue ocean is. And very short way of saying, if you're going to a networking event that has 20 other attorneys and they've all been there for years, maybe you want to think about going somewhere else. Okay.
Right.
And so looking at the marketplace and really realizing where you should be and where you shouldn't be, that's really what I think a SWOT analysis will help you figure out.
Got it. So I think a lot of attorneys are probably listening and going, okay, how do I make a game plan? So I think you want to make it simple. You want a simple game plan, simplify it so it's not so complicated to start, correct?
Yeah, I think that's going back to the plan. I mean, this is really what we're talking about. So, move it forward and you'll see that I'm really suggesting that there's a way to write an easy plan similar to what I went through a few minutes ago. And I want to get into a little bit more, detail about that. So a takeaway from this presentation, and I'll tell you my thought about presenting. There's a lot of presenters that give you ideas I just did. I just gave you one. It said blue ocean, go where the blue ocean is. That's not very tactical. That doesn't necessarily resonate to you taking action to accomplish something with your practice. And what I want to do in this presentation is actually give you 2 or 3 really sound, actionable things that you can do that are going to help you go out and grow your practice. So I'm going to help you write up that game plan right now so you can take this away and actually, if you want to go write a plan, you could go do it.
Amazing. I love it. That's what I love about your stuff here. It's practical advice that people can take right now. I hate reading books where it's 400 pages full of fluff. And I'm like, why couldn't you tell me that in 3 pages? It drives me crazy.
I'm on the same page as you. And so when if we're gonna take the time to offer advice to attorneys, there's things that may be way more involved where you're going to have to hire someone like me or go to some classes or do something online. In other instances, there are things that you can take ownership of if you're given the right direction. And I'm hoping that that's what we're going to do today.
Got it. Okay. So do you want to talk about, should I keep going down this list for you?
Yeah. So go down. So remember we mentioned about the objective earlier, setting a number for yourself, or it could be number of clients you want to bring in. Whatever the objective rings home with you. Strategies, you're going to want to develop some of these. Let's go through a list of some potential strategies. Obviously, networking is strategy. Leveraging existing connections is a strategy. Developing new strategic partnerships. Let me give an example of that last one because I want to make sure everyone knows what that means. I work in the legal world. Obviously, my clientele are attorneys. So I have partnered with bankers who work with law firms, court reporting companies that work with attorneys. I have connections with people in e-discovery, in document destruction, in litigation support. And these are the people that are in front of attorneys all the time. And so am I. So we are in a very unique position to be able to refer one another on a regular basis. Okay. And you think about, if you're an estate planning attorney and that's all you do, well, you're going to want to partner with attorneys that do things other than estate planning. Or you may want to connect with CPAs and financial advisors and family attorneys because, again, they're going to be regular potential referral sources for you. And that's what I mean by developing new strategic partnerships.
Got it.
Okay? Now, remember, as we spoke earlier, let's say that networking is something that you like and enjoy or that you feel you have to do to start to build a kind of a stable of people in your world. Well, those strategies are very challenging. So what we're going to do in this plan is develop some specific tactics to break down and help us accomplish something as menacing as networking. Okay? So I'm going to give you a couple tactical guidelines. As you write tactics, think about putting together 5 to 7 tactics that are going to give you the roadmap for how you're going to be an effective networker or how you're going to leverage your existing connection database. Okay? So as you write a strategy, tactics for your strategy, add some bullet points or some detail that's going to kind of provide more context to each tactic that you're writing. A good way to think about it is to think about it like a story. Every good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right?
Yep. And
if I'm watching a show and it's 45 minutes in, that's usually when my wife is going to come down and say, "Oh, what are you watching?" Down, right? Who is that? And why does it matter? And we're going to go through that whole thing. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm like, if she had just been here at the beginning, I wouldn't have to explain all of this stuff. So for the purposes of our conversation or dialogue as it relates to your building your business, you're going to want to have some planning, some execution, and some follow-up points that are going to give you sort of like, here's the story of how you're going to be successful at leveraging existing connections or networking. Okay? So as you click on the next 2, you'll see it's going to be, you write it like a story, and then you're going to try to add in things like, ask yourself, who am I targeting? Okay, so again, I'm an estate planning attorney. Who am I targeting? If I'm going to go out networking, obviously direct business, anyone can use an estate plan if they don't have one already. Most people don't. Then I'm also thinking, I want to go places where CPAs are. I want to go places where financial planners are. I want to go places where other attorneys are going to be, bar associations. So I'm going to want to write out the who What am I doing? Well, I'm networking. I want to attend events. When are these events? You want to, where are these events? You're going to want to ask yourself these questions as a way to ferret out all the information you can. And if we click on the next slide, I'm actually giving you a sample of what I'm talking about so you can see it directly in front of you. If the strategy is to leverage my existing database, family and friends, to obtain quality introductions, tactic number one would be to print out your contacts. Okay? Rate them A, B, and C because not all contacts are created equal. For example, if you have an A, let's say it's your Uncle Fred, and your Uncle Fred runs a $50 million manufacturing company in town, and you're his favorite nephew, okay? And you do all kinds of business transaction work, and there's no reason that he couldn't use you, and you do a good job for your uncle, okay? You might want to label him as an A because he is a direct prospect for you. We just have to have a good process of how to approach your uncle to start having a dialogue about his business, if that hasn't happened already.
Right.
Okay? And by the way, he may not know what you do. All right. So even though you're his favorite nephew, he just thinks of you as, the nephew. He doesn't think of you as this talented attorney who may actually be of great value to him.
I feel like a lot of people get this step wrong because, for me, I have a lot of friends friends, I won't even call them friends, people I've known for 15 years ago, maybe in whatever, high school or college, and they'll call me 15 years later, and I'm like, what is this guy calling me for? And I already know the answer. Oh, I'm a financial advisor. I was like, come on, man, like this is not the way to do things, So they have to be very smart of how they contact these people also, I'm guessing.
Right. And so again, that's going to be something that we would put into a plan like this because to your point, let's say that you get that reaching out to existing contacts makes sense and that you've got a pretty decent network of people that you can reach out to. Tactic number two would actually be having a script, right? Now, in this instance, it's not. We're still working on breaking these lists down into friends and family, potential referral partners, et cetera. But another tactic that you would add to this, maybe a tactic 3, 4, or 5, would be actually creating a script about what you're going to say to these people. How are you going to approach them? Is it an email? Is it a phone call?
Right.
Are there questions that you can ask your uncle to identify more opportunities within his business? So let me just give an example. What if I had a question in my plan that went something like this? I'm sitting down with my uncle. We're having a cup of coffee at a Starbucks. I'm asking him about his business. I say, we never really talk about your business. I'm really curious about what you do. And he starts telling me about his business. And I say, what are some of the key challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis running your business? And he's talking about how people are always the challenge. And he's got, he's growing at a crazy rate. And it's hard for him to manage all these people. And your background is contract work and labor and employment. You might ask some more detailed questions about how he's set up to really protect himself and to make sure that they're successful, growing, in putting himself in a positive way. And he's totally lost. He doesn't get even what you're asking. Well, that could be an opportunity that you just identified with your uncle because of the questions you asked. At no point did you sell your uncle anything. At no point did you approach him about doing business. It just happened naturally because you had it in your plan that you were going to ask specific questions. That's probably more process than anything, but it's something that certainly you should give some thought to.
Yeah, because you're basically you know what you want to get out of it, and you're leading them down a path of questions that will be in your end goal at the very end of the day. So,
right. And it's not salesy in the sense that you're not there to pitch him your practice. You're being legitimately curious about what he does and the kinds of problems he has. The fact that it relates back to the fact that you might have a deliverable, that's just icing on the cake.
Right. And you're giving good free advice. Like the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Be genuinely interested in the other person.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
So then basically you're saying that you're really breaking it down into specifics. Oh, how am I going to reach out to this friend and family without being too obtrusive? So you actually say tactic 3, you recommend blocking off 90 minutes weekly to do this or just any time just to start doing this?
Yeah. So, actually, this is actually very specific just to block out 90 minutes to complete the task of printing out the database.
Right.
Okay. So go to the next one. You'll see.
And if you say database, people don't even have databases right now. If they're not using a software, it's just on their phone.
Right. So you have to print out your phone, or you have to
Yep.
go through your phone and start listing out people as A, B, and C's. And by the way, when are you going to have this completed? Because I can tell you, if your intention is to start calling and emailing people to start getting coffee meetings set up with family, friends, past associates, and everything, and you don't have a list in front of you that's ready to go, you're not going to do it. Okay,
Right.
now we're back to that behavior, attitude, right? We're back to the cue and the habits. If you have a list, that's going to be your cue to start making calls and emails. If you don't have a list, you're going to sit in front of your computer and you're going to go, geez, I don't even know who to call.
Right. You get overwhelmed. You have no plan.
Right. And then you're done before it starts.
Right. So you're saying too many people have an idea, they just jump into it. Let's just start calling without taking a step back, taking an hour, and doing the real plan, basically. That's the main goal here.
Right. And so missing that plan is a major mistake or misstep that attorneys get into because A, they don't know how to write a plan, and B, they're just out there just running around trying to figure it out sort of on the fly, when in fact most of the things that you need to learn, you can be dictated to by a plan if it's written in this type of platform.
So I know a lot of lawyers are listening in right now and thinking, wow, when am I ever going to have time for 90 minutes? Well, right now you have time to watch this, so you definitely have some time. So do you recommend blocking off this time before work, in the middle of work, after work, on the weekends maybe?
Yeah, I think if, there's you have to make the time when you're building a practice, and a lot of the stuff is billable during the week. It's calls should be made during the week. And this is a great thing to do over a weekend. This is, if you're a night owl, do it late at night. If you're an early morning person like myself, I'm in my office at 6 a.m.
Wow.
three days a week. Okay. And so from 6 to 8 a.m., my phone isn't going off, my email isn't chiming, and I can crank out probably 20 hours of work in 6 hours because I'm not being disturbed. Yeah. So really think about when you can get some focused time to work on a plan like this.
So I have a personal question. How the heck do you wake up so early 3 times a week? What is your routine for getting up that early? Going to sleep early? Yes. Dressing up already?
Here's my philosophy on sleep, and I'll make it very brief. Everybody needs just a certain amount of sleep, right? It's 6 hours, it's 7 hours, it's 8 hours. So if you know that you need 7 hours and that's the magic number, and you want to get up early, then just go to bed so that you get your 7 hours. You're going to wake up at 6 a.m. and know that you're refreshed and that you're fine. You don't need to sleep till 10. So if you're a night owl and you want to try to break that habit, now we're going back to the habit loop, right?
Right.
You have to start setting the cue of going to bed at 10, getting up at 5, 5:30, get a workout in the morning. You're going to get so much more done if you can just get to sleep earlier and know that you have that 6 or 7 hour window where you can crash, get your body rested, and then you're ready to go.
Okay, my wife's going to ask me tonight, why are you going to sleep at 8 p.m. and putting your phone downstairs? I have a lot of new things to try tonight. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so approaching networking. So you recommend obviously doing research first, correct?
Yeah. I mean, again, networking is just a massive, vast waste of time if it isn't done with some purpose and done with some planning and execution. I'm one of these guys who, when I started my business in 2004, I attended, 4 or 5 events a week. I probably was sitting down with 3 or 4 people a day. I was just running everywhere, doing everything. And again, it was great from a standpoint of branding and knowing everybody and helping everybody and building karma. From a standpoint of actual efficiency, it was terrible. So we're going to want to do our research. Again, find the best places to go for you, for your unique practice.
Got it.
Okay. Again, who are you targeting to meet? CPAs, other attorneys, consultants, business owners. Go where they are. Okay. And make sure that you're testing the waters before you join. Don't just start joining stuff. Go there, experience how it's run, who's there, what other competition's there before you start, deciding what you're gonna, join. Look at associations, charities, boards, private clubs, alumni. Where are you going to get some real traction?
So let me ask you, are there any great networking events, or, do you recommend going to meetup.com or joining a BNI group?
Again, yeah, if based on where you are in your tenure as attorney, again, it goes back to the planning. should you be joining a bunch of networking groups if you have, 200 clients that you do work with already and you haven't even tapped into them for more? Well, then no, don't start running around meeting a bunch of strangers. You have all the business you need. It's right in front of you. You just need to know how to tap into it. Okay. But if you're starting from scratch, or you need to rebuild, or you need to start building a network, yeah, you're going to want to start putting the feelers out there for networking events that you can join and attend. But I'm just saying, before you start jumping in with both feet, test the waters a little bit, attend, see if it really fits your, what you're looking for, and don't just, show up and then leave. The networking happens there, but you've got to follow through with the right people for some coffees afterward.
Right, got it. So I think there's that famous saying that the best source of new revenue is your existing customers, which people never even look at. So how do you recommend approaching your existing customers, asking for referrals, phone calls, emails, referral program, referral fees, anything like that?
Yeah, David, that sounds like another webinar we're going to have to put together.
Okay, for the next time then. Okay, cool.
But I do cover that a little bit later in the presentation in a few minutes, and I can cross over between how you get referrals from networking is not that different from how you would get referrals from like an existing client. So I will cross that over when we get to it.
Got it. Yeah. So the next slide is basically about the software. So a lot of people, they're going to these events, they're collecting these business cards. You're saying print out a list of contacts. They don't even have a list anywhere. So the next slide is dedicated to practice management, case management, CRM software, client relationship management. You need to keep track of this. So this slide is for a lot of people using our software, tuning in right now. And this is a great feature that a lot of people don't even know about and don't even use. And it's called tags. Whenever you add someone into a software, you can tag them. So as you see here with my mouse, you'll have they're an attorney. This is who this person, well, this is actually my dog, but let's pretend this is an attorney, and I met them at BNI. So the cool thing is that you can run reports on these kind of tags to show you, I want to see all the attorneys I met at BNI, and if they referred me anyone, how much money I made from them, or I want to add a tag to say this is a lead or this is a client that I got from BNI or from avo.com or my website or Google AdWords, and you could actually see how many leads you got from this lead source and how much money you generated from this lead source. So if you're spending a lot of money on advertising, you need to know where that money's going, what's the ROI, how many people are coming from it. You need to know all these things, and it really shocks me that a lot of people don't know this stuff. Simple stuff like what is your best source of leads, how much money you made from each. It's very, very simple stuff. So for everyone tuning in that uses our software, don't forget to use this feature. It's extremely, extremely valuable.
Great. Yeah. So again, if we're looking at putting a plan together, we're looking to go out and network, we're looking to leverage existing contacts and clients, having some type of tracking system in place, something that not only allows you to keep track of people, but also what's the next step? What's the task that needs to happen next? So really use your calendar. And when you finish with someone and you've got to do something for them, and it isn't going to happen right this second, make sure you tag it in here. Make sure you put something in your calendar. Make sure that you've got ways of following up with people, because all of the work in the world with networking is going to go in the garbage if you don't have the ability to follow up with people, especially people that you've promised things to or that you've committed to taking next steps with, and then you forget or blow it off or it doesn't pop up. You're going to become very quickly known as not a great networker. So you're going to want to make sure you stay on top of it.
Right. One more thing I'll bring up, when people sign up to our software, we have a CRM software, we have automated tasks once a week or every few months. Don't forget to call this person back, see how they're doing, follow up with them. It's the same thing for your business. In our software, for example, or any CRM software, you can make recurring tasks and events to remind yourself to follow up with these people. So like Steve said, if you keep drilling it in, it becomes a process for every person you meet. You will never forget to do this. So Steve, I kind of want to jump to the next one on networking, because I'm really excited for some of your networking tips that you have.
Yeah. So now you're thinking strategically about who you need to get in front of. It's probably either a prospective client or potential strategic partners, people that are centers of influence. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed is trying to find networking places to network where I can enjoy myself or where I have a personal interest. So I don't know about in Miami, David, but in Chicago and in the Midwest and in the East Coast, there's something called platform tennis.
Never heard of it. I mean, I'm a big tennis player, but never heard of platform tennis.
Yeah, so you're going to want to look that up on YouTube once we get off of this webinar. But it's a super cool sport. It's like a mini tennis with you're surrounded by screens. So it's like if you took racquetball, tennis, and ping pong and you combine them into one sport.
Cool.
We play that. I'm super passionate about it. But the point of me bringing it up is that as a part of playing platform tennis here in the Chicagoland area, my team plays against a lot of other teams at these private country clubs, these private golf clubs where they also have platform tennis. I'm meeting CEOs, managing partners of law firms, big shot CPAs, all kinds of really interesting people, and I'm having a ton of fun doing it and having a beer with them at the end of the game. So, if you're into that, that's a great way to network. If you're into your alumni and you love your school, get involved in the alumni. If you have a passion for a particular charity, get engaged and involved in that. If you have something that you see coming up the pipeline that you're super interested in, try to get involved in marijuana law. Get involved in something that is breaking a new law, and try to be on the forefront of that. If you have an interest in your business revolves around medical devices and intellectual property, try to get involved in different groups and things that revolve around medical equipment and devices, pest control, whatever it is. Try to find places that you can go where that's going to be the subject matter of the program.
Got it. Awesome. All right. So the next question, I guess, becomes: you meet all these people on the networking event. How do you qualify them instead of just approaching every single person trying to sell your soul?
Yeah, so I'm really not so concerned about what I say to people up front. I'm really more interested in asking them questions about their business, about their career, being a great listener, being physically there and emotionally there to take in everything they say, so that you're really building a relationship with someone. And also, by the way, qualifying them. Do they fall into the context of potential client, potential strategic partner, center of influence, in which case we want to be in a position to talk, hear them out and then respond when they say, what do you do? Or is this someone that doesn't fit into that criteria? We're not going to invest a lot of time in them, but maybe they're a friend, maybe they're an interesting person. We don't want to discount those people, but we do want to really focus on the people that are maybe more likely to do business with us. I mean, this is a business networking event. We are interested in networking with people we can do business with. Okay.
Right. And everyone's favorite topic of conversation is themselves. It's like the number one most used letter and word in the world. So make them talk about themselves, you're saying.
Yeah. And then as you're listening to them talk about themselves, think about the rating system A, B, and C. Is this person an A prospect strategic partner? B, are they more of a light strategic partner, long-term down the road type of potential client? Or are they a C, a friend, an interesting person? Don't discount them, but don't invest a ton of time in them either.
Got it. So what's the acronym TLEN you have here?
So this is what's going on in my head as I'm meeting people to qualify whether or not I want to meet them for coffee. And then while I'm meeting them for coffee, I continue the TLEN process. Because again, if I'm looking to develop strategic partners, I really want to make sure that I'm investing my time with the right people for the right reasons. And there's a million reasons to have coffees with different people. But if you're billable by the hour and you're wasting 5-10 hours a week or a month with the wrong people because you haven't properly qualified them to meet with you, that's when things start to go off the deep end. And you end up realizing at the end of the year that 10 hours a month is 120 hours a year. And that's all time that you wasted because you didn't have a way of qualifying people before you invested an hour in a coffee.
Got it. Okay. So the acronym trust. Yeah.
Trust. Is this someone that you can trust? Do they follow through? Likability. Is this someone that you enjoy versus someone who's driving you crazy every time you see them? You just want to run them away, right? Is it someone that has an expertise in their field? You cannot network with someone and provide lead generation, for example, for someone who is not an expert, because it will come back to you and it will burn you. Okay. Right. So again, you have to be an expert yourself to be referable, and you also want to make sure the people you're referring are experts. Okay. Network. Does the person have a network? Now, if the person doesn't have a network, that doesn't mean we can't spend time with them. It's just going to be a longer term sort of investment before they build a network enough with enough people to feed you potential business. And then lastly, are they a decision maker? Meaning, are they high up at their firm? Are they high up in the company? Or are they a bookkeeper? Are they a database, entry person? Are they a janitor? I mean, again, those people have value. It's not to discount they don't have value. In the realm of dealing with CEOs or dealing with someone who sits at a desk and does database entry all day, I'll take the CEO every day. They know the people that you're going to want to do business with more so than someone who's putting in data entry.
Correct. Strongly agree. So, okay. So when you say creating your own dream team, are you referring to people like your network, your referrals? They're going to keep pushing you business all year round?
Yeah. So I'm looking for a starting lineup, and I can talk about how great the Cubs are, right?
Okay.
Because it took us over 100 years to say that. So, but the Cubs had a great team last year, and this year, they're good. They're not great. They're not winning every game, of course, but they have to continue scouting for talent. The Cubs cannot rest on the team they had this year. They need to continue building their bench, and so do you as a business developer, as a networker. You may have a great CPA now. You may have a financial planner. You may have a lawyer that refers you stuff. First of all, you can't rest on your laurels that they're gonna continue referring you stuff if you're not referring them back.
Correct.
Number two is that's a bench of 3 people. You probably want to have 7 to 10 people that are referring you regular business. If that happens, you're probably going to be in a much better position financially than if it's only 1 or 2 or 3 people. Okay? So think of yourself as a baseball scout in the sense that you have to continually be out there looking for new and better referral partners.
Okay? And then you say here you want to set up a monthly activity target. So what does that mean? Like every month I want to find at least one more person to join my dream team?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about. I mean, set some goals in your plan that we spoke about earlier that you're going to want to meet with 3 people a month and try to find one new strategic partner every month, because some people are going to be failing you, or some people are going to be leaving town or getting an in-house position, and they're not going to be your referral partner forever. So you've got to keep recycling people through, especially people that fail you. And that will happen where they're great today, but tomorrow they're not. And you're just resting on your laurels that you've got this person who fed you 5 deals last year. They're not going to feed you 5 deals this year. And you have to continue to look at the next best person, or to salvage the person that isn't feeding you and try to fix that.
Right. So it becomes one more good habit and good process you're setting up every month, so you never forget to keep looking for good people, basically.
Exactly. And the way that I try to network effectively, whether it's T-Len or whether it's building a dream team, is having really successful one-on-one meetings. That's really what I'm all about. Is a lot of people, again, wasting countless hours. I mean, you could do the math yourself if you're listening to this. It adds up, 5-10 hours a week, 5-10 hours a month, whatever the number is. You're having meetings that go on for an hour or 2 or 3. There's no resolution. There's no next step. They're selling you. You're selling them. It blows your mind that these things are going down. And one of the reasons that happens is because we're not establishing a game plan. We are not setting the tone and controlling these meetings in a friendly way. So what I've done is I've come up with a way to meet with a stranger, and that's what this person is. I mean, if you meet someone at a networking event for 10 minutes and you agree that you should get together, that's fine. But they're still a stranger, okay? Yep. And the meeting can go any number of directions. So we're really going to want to set a game plan where we can list out an agenda that works for both parties. And what I'd like to do is just take 2 minutes and run through that agenda. David, if you'll be my networking partner for this role play.
Sure.
I'll pull up the other points. I'll run through what are the steps of this agenda. Okay. So you guys can see how this actually works, because it's really ingenious, I think, not just because I came up with it. I didn't come up with the concept of agendas. I came up with the concept that if we do it this way at the beginning of a networking meeting, we're going to get a better potential outcome. Okay. And the outcome is move someone forward to a next step or move someone out. Both are good outcomes, because you're not going to have to invest a lot more time with someone if they move out. And if you move them forward, well, you're getting something, they're getting something. There's value in that time that was just invested.
Got it. Okay, let's do it.
David, imagine that we just spent, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes talking about dogs, and we both have dogs, and it's been this great little, kind of natural affinity, commonality type of relationship building, right?
Yep.
And then I say to you, well, listen, David, I can tell you're an incredibly busy guy. I am as well. I thought to make the best use of our time while we're having this coffee, it would make sense to set up a little bit of a game plan for the rest of our meeting today. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, of course.
So look, I know we had agreed on the phone to meet for about an hour. We've got about 50 minutes left. I'm just going to shut my phone off so we don't get interrupted. I hope you can appreciate that. So listen, from my perspective, the purpose of us getting together today is really to see if there's a fit, see if there might be some synergies in how we may be able to work together and refer one another. What I was hoping we could do, David, is if you could take about 15 minutes and give me a little more detail about the type of practice that you have, how you help people, and most importantly, who are the types of people that you're looking to meet that would be good referral sources for you or be good potential clients for you. And then if I could take about 15 minutes and do the same thing, we'd both, in a short amount of time, I think, get to learn a little bit about each other to see that, there is a good fit. Does that sound all right to you?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. And listen, at the end of the meeting, when we have about 10 minutes left, if we feel like there's a next step that we want to take, maybe we come up with a little baby step to refer each other something small and test the waters a little bit and just see how we do together. And again, don't give me your biggest client, and I certainly won't do that with you, but maybe there's a one contact that makes sense or something where we might be in a position to at least get the ball rolling and test the waters a bit. Fair enough?
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay. So think about that. In setting up that agenda, not only will I be in a position to control the meeting, but I'm actually putting myself in a position to get something out of the meeting at the end and test David to see if he is a player or if he is not a player. Okay?
Right. Love it.
If he refuses to help me find a connection at the end, his follow-up is terrible, he has no interest in taking next steps, well, then I've really disqualified that he's someone we should really work with and move him aside.
Right. Right.
So let's assume that we're now at the end of the meeting. And at this point, I might say, David, I have a name or two written down that I think would be really interesting. I know you're interested in meeting financial planners and CPAs, and I've got some really interesting ones that I'd like to talk to you about just out of curiosity and hearing what I do in my practice. Any thoughts on potential contacts that you think I might be able to connect with?
Right. So basically, is that moving us to the next slide? What do you have to offer?
Almost. Go back first.
Okay. Okay.
So the idea here is that I'm offering up the idea of a name, helping you come up with a name. Then I give you a name, and now it's about, are we both going to follow up with this contact to add value for one another and make a quality introduction?
That's what QI stands for. Okay, got it. So it's got to be mutual, basically.
It's got to be mutual. And again, what better way to see if someone can play baseball than put them on the minor league? Test them out with the other players. Before you put them on the major league, put them in your major league team, test them out, see if they have the chops to actually follow through and work on your behalf in a positive way. And of course, you have to follow through as well.
Right, got it. So then basically, you start with baby steps, nice and easy, no big commitments for now. And
Yep.
if they really are awesome, your referral, they love them, then you kind of go from there and do more.
Yeah, then maybe we touch base in a few weeks and we set up a next step to do this again, but maybe in a little bit more an involved fashion.
Right, got it. Okay, awesome.
Cool.
Next one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So one of the things I'm sorry, David.
Well, I was going to say, okay, no, keep going. Don't worry.
So one of the concerns that attorneys have then is, look, I'm new to my practice, or I've been buried in work. I don't even know what I could offer someone in a networking exchange like this. And so I decided I'd come up with a top, 7 list of things that you can offer. Obviously, if you have a direct referral for someone, that's great. In most instances, you won't. But that is something to think about. If you have a bunch of CPAs, and that's something that I'm also interested in, then maybe introduce a strategic partner, an existing strategic partner. Personal referrals, handyman, something that might be value to the person. Invite them to attend an event like you mentioned earlier, BNI. Bring your friend to the BNI. Maybe provide some sound advice about their business, articles of interest, and introduce them. If you're at a firm and you're a newer attorney and you're at a 5-person firm, maybe you invite them to meet your more senior partner, and that's the next step, because the senior partner is going to have more to offer this individual than maybe you can at this time. But
Right.
at least there's a list of things you can do.
Yeah, you said before that let's say someone's giving you a referral, but you don't have any for them. You kind of feel bad, and then they'll stop referring you. So in that case, you try to do whatever else you can to keep them at least knowing that you're still looking after them.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. All right, so this is sales-free selling, the art of selling without selling. Okay.
So think about it. You invested all this time in networking. You invested in this plan. You're out there meeting people, and finally someone says, "My uncle Fred with this big company needs some contract work done. Will you meet with him?" So all this work is coming to actually getting you an opportunity. Okay.
Right.
So we want to look at what's going on now. And the first thing that I say to attorneys, it's okay to dislike sales, selling, and salespeople. So do I. So don't feel like you can't do business development because you don't have a taste for sales or you have a background in sales. Most of the people I work with are introverted people that like to crank out work. The idea that they're going to go out and network, or the idea that they're going to go and try to talk to their uncle, is so foreign they want to jump out of a window. Okay.
Yeah.
But we can work on it together, because there are processes you can follow that will help you to slowly break down those walls. And we have to agree that sales sucks and we don't like sales. That's okay.
Right.
Okay.
So why is it so hard?
It's hard mainly because it is a learned skill, and up to this point you may not have learned how to do it. Also, selling has become hard because buyers are impossible. They're very difficult, and they're different to deal with than they've ever been. I mean, 15 years ago, if you wanted to hire somebody or you wanted to buy something, you just went out and got it. Now there's the internet, there's more competition, everyone's seemingly risk averse, so it's really become more challenging to sell, especially if you don't have a good process.
Yeah, I think I heard or read somewhere that 10 years ago, when someone was looking to buy something, they would only, do 3 types of research online, or maybe ask a friend or read reviews. And now it's become like 15 different times they have to look at your brand until they make a decision. It's gotten crazy. There's so much coming. There's so much in their ears all the time that they're seeing and hearing. They just have such a crazy filter these days. So you have to, it's a lot harder these days.
No question. So again, we want to look at why it's hard, and we want to look at how to fix it. I'm going to kind of cruise through this because I want to move forward and move on to the e-learning. So the traditional business model that most attorneys are still using, and I'd put that in the 95 percentile, that most of them are still using this. They meet a prospect, they go in and make a presentation or a pitch. They call it a pitch meeting. At the end of the pitch meeting, you say, "What do you think?" They say, "Well, that's great. We've got some questions for you. What are your rates? How do you work? What are your solutions?" You go to handle those, and then you hope that it closes. Okay?
Yeah, I love the next part. The buyer model, you really nailed it on the head here. It's so funny.
Buyers are difficult. I'm actually going through this right now because I'm in the process of looking to buy a car, and it's insane what's going on, that I have to go and lie to these dealers to tell them I'm buying a car, to gather information and pricing, to understand how they're going to run me around, only to continue lying to them and eventually disappear on the ones that I don't want to work with.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that we have to go through that. And if you look at the traditional business model and the buyer model, and you saw all these back and forths, they do not work well together. And the biggest problem is that the buyer has the control. Because I'm the buyer and I'm asking all the questions, and I'm the one with all the information and the power, I'm running these salesmen around in circles. And
Yeah.
as an attorney, you're so in the mindset of solving problems. What you're not realizing is that the buyer is taking advantage of you, and you're giving them your ideas. You're giving them your information and your price. You're laying everything out for them. Then they go dark on you, or we call it the disappearing act of Houdini. And you're wondering, like, what happened to this buyer? Why is this buyer? This person said it was great meeting me, and they want to work with me, and then they're gone. And we need to look at how to fix this. This is a problem that is going on for everybody.
Yeah, I'm laughing because we were looking at, my wife and I are looking to buy a new house, and we went to go see a house and we loved it. The realtor knew we loved it. And all of a sudden we just did the Houdini act. We disappeared. She's like, "Are you there? What do you think? What's going on?" We just like totally disappeared. I feel so bad, but you're so true. This is exactly what people do all day long.
So why as buyers are we doing that? And I think there's really two reasons. Number one is because, we've gone a different direction, and we don't want to give bad news to the seller. We don't want to have to sit there and give bad news. No one wants to do that. It's not fun, well, right? And we don't want to let anyone down. So we'd rather just ignore them and they'll go away. The other one is the worst option, which is we call them and tell them the bad news. They then battle us on the phone or face to face for 20 minutes, convincing us that we need them and that we should work with them, and they'll cut their price and this, that, and the other, when we've already decided to go a different direction. And we're like, I don't want to deal with that again, right? So we just would rather disappear as buyers. So it should come as no surprise when you're offering legal services, estate planning, real estate, whatever it is, and you think you've got someone on the hook and they go away, there's a lot of reasons why they're gone, and they do not want to tell you what it is.
Got it. Yeah, you've really thought this all out. So
Thought it out. And I've done more than that. I've actually come up with a model that fixes it. The first thing we have to do is we have to get rid of both models. We cannot do the pitch meetings anymore. We got to get rid of them, and we got to get rid of the buyer model. We cannot allow buyers to control our time and control the way that they buy. We want to have a model that works very synergistically together, like two partners figuring out how to solve a problem.
Right.
Okay. And so when we meet with someone, here's sort of a very rough draft of what the model is that I teach. And I spend literally 3 to 6 months with attorneys helping them internalize this model, because there's a lot of moving parts with it. But I want to at least give you kind of a Reader's Digest version of what it is.
And Steve, I want to pause you and ask you one quick question. So in the last slide, you said attorneys these days, the clients will come in, they'll give all this free advice, free information, pricing. So are you recommending not to give that 15-minute phone call free consultation?
I'm not saying that you shouldn't give a consultation, but the consultation shouldn't be about giving your solutions and prices.
Okay.
And there's a mantra that I use, and I think I bring it up later. I'm not sure. It's prescription before diagnosis is malpractice.
Yeah, you do bring it up. Yep.
I do bring it up later. So again, the idea of that, I'm going to go into a doctor's office and tell him that my arm hurts. He's going to immediately start giving me a prescription for these drugs and send me on my way, when in fact, 2 sessions of physical therapy would have done a better job. He didn't diagnose it. He just prescribed, and that's malpractice.
Got it. Okay.
I did one of those today, by the way. The guy thought he was walking into a expensive consultation with me. It ended up not being that. It ended up being basically me just learning about his business, learning about his practice, and figuring out that he has all these problems that are all solvable, but he's going to need to invest in a program with me because they're not solvable on his own.
Got it.
He needs planning and process, and he needs the 3 Ps, and those don't just grow on trees. You got to invest time in that.
Correct. Okay, got it.
So back to the situation. I have been referred someone who has a need for some contract work, and there's an opportunity here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build some rapport. I'm going to build some trust. Then I'm going to set an agenda, and I'm going to, again, set up, similar to the networking agenda, a business agenda that allows for us to, for me to ask questions and for me to control the end of the meeting, so that it's not a think about it or maybe, or and I'll get back to you. The focus of the meeting is asking questions. I need to identify problems, issues, challenges, pain, compelling reasons to take action. If those don't exist, very difficult to move someone forward, to a buying decision. And then I want to finish by qualifying, are they committed to solving the problem? Are they, in fact, the decision maker that's going to work on this with me? And are they financially qualified to work with me? Okay. And then I only present the pitch, if you will, only to their issues, only to what they need to see, hear, or experience. Not going to throw the kitchen sink at them.
Right. And that's your famous line.
There it is. Prescription before diagnosis, malpractice. So again, we really want to spend more time questioning, listening, and taking notes and really being a consultant than diving into a pitch or diving into solutions right away.
It feels like you sound like my wife. Stop giving me solutions. Start asking. It's similar to marriage.
It really is. It actually makes you a better person to some degree, because instead of just jumping in and talking and solving and one-upping people, right, you actually sit and listen and understand. And, when my wife has a problem, and she would agree with this if she was here, but I did look to see if she was around, that it isn't just about jumping in and solving. If you ask what the problem is and she starts telling you, and you can hold off solving a problem and wait for her to ask, what do you think I should do? And until that comes out, don't solve.
Right. Yes. It's one thing I'm still learning. It's not easy.
Very difficult. You're breaking many years of tradition, right?
Yeah, correct.
So kind of wrapping up from today, and then I want to give you guys a little bit of a demo of an e-learning platform that I created that might be interesting for you to jump into if you want to get started with business development and you don't have a coach or consultant in your area. I do work nationally, but again, you may want to take a baby step before calling me directly. Let me go through kind of what we covered today. Okay, number one, the importance of demonstrating positive behaviors to improve your attitude. Highly recommend not winging it. It's really not a strategy. Okay, learning some processes and some better language when networking so you stop wasting time. Embrace the concept of sales-free selling. It's all about questioning, listening, and empathy. And when you have a tactical plan, a proven process, and accountability to achieve the goals that you're looking to achieve, it's very hard to fail. So those are kind of some parting words. Again, hopefully you got a lot out of the time that you've invested here. But let's if you're okay, let's transition into Origination Station, which is my online platform. I have a PracticePanther special for everybody today. If you like the demo I'm going to show you, normally it's $450 a year for this program. That includes online webinars, videos, custom-made videos that I do, all my content that I create on business development, and I'll give you a demo, but it's all put onto this thing. It's $300 if you sign up today.
Wait, so Steve, this is $300 for the whole year or per month?
Whole year.
Oh, I thought this was monthly. Oh, that's crazy.
No. Monthly, if you want to work with me directly, then we can start talking some numbers. But for people that just want to get their feet wet with how do we start getting ready to go to battle as it relates to business development, this is the plan. I mean, it's 2 Cubs tickets. So
awesome. And you want me to load this video up?
Yeah, show the opening video, and then I can do a quick demo.
Okay, here we go. Let's go.
Hello, my name is Steve Fretzin, and welcome to Origination Station. For almost 10 years now, I've devoted myself to helping attorneys dramatically grow their law practices. During this time, I've also witnessed a dramatic shift in the legal industry, increased competition, rate pressures, and the overall commoditization of legal services. As I've heard so many times over the years, I didn't go to law school to get into sales, or I'm too busy to think about business development, or worst of all, my hours are down and I'm worried about the firm letting me go. The reality is that it's the business of law, and only by growing your book of business are you truly free to control your own destiny. Origination Station was created to give you, as an attorney, all of the tools, training, and support necessary to build a successful and sustainable law practice. Quite simply, Origination Station is a web-based platform that contains all of the information you need to build a successful law practice. We've taken business development education to greater heights by providing 3 levels of interaction to make your experience unique and effective. First, you'll have access to professionally produced interactive videos with myself, as well as high-level content directly from the legal industry's top experts and rainmakers. You can watch one short and targeted video or an entire course to quickly ramp up your knowledge and skill sets. Second, you'll have direct and live access to me, Steve Fretzin, author and founder of the Origination Station. I am committed to speaking with each member of my community to ensure you feel supported and that your business development goals are obtained. Third, you'll have peer-to-peer connectivity with other lawyers who are engaged in the community for the very same reasons you are. Our network will embrace the sharing of knowledge in order to help everyone excel at business development. As a valued member of our community, you can customize your experience by choosing which topics, program levels, or interactivity fit your individual needs. The community will be available to you day or night and can be accessed on any device. The best part, it's free to try for 30 days. In addition, we offer a 100% money-back guarantee. We want to act as your virtual partner in helping you drive revenue, achieve financial independence, and most importantly, get back to having the balanced life that you deserve. We believe that attorneys should work to live, not live to work. Please join us today to begin a new era in your legal career. Origination Station, legal business development that works.
Wow, that is awesome.
Thank you.
That's really impressive. So basically, they can try for free, 30-day money-back guarantee, and $300 a year for all the access to all the videos.
That's it. And there's articles. I've got, just to give you a quick tour, I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let me know when you can see me.
Not yet. I still see your face. Click the screen share, and then let me turn the webcam off. Yeah, I think it's going. There we go. I see you now. I see your screen. Steve, 1 second. I can't hear you, so maybe click the microphone icon on the top. Nope, I can't hear you, Steve. I don't know if you can.
Now?
Yeah, now I hear you. There we go.
Sorry. I clicked the microphone cool. Instead of the camera. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. All right, so I hear you, and we all see your screen. So this is pretty much, it looks kind of like a private YouTube channel, just that you made yourself. This is awesome. Yeah,
well, it's that and more, because some of it's interactive. For example, here's a program on networking skills. So this is going to cover soup to nuts. There's a bunch of courses. So how to plan for networking, working an event, how to run one-on-one meetings, existing relationships, networking with a conference, working a conference. So you click on here, and then there's a number of videos that are specific to that topic, okay? So let's say how to connect with anyone, and that's going to take us into this session. This is a professionally made interactive video that I did with a client of mine, and I have commentary on the side. Turn it down a little bit.
Critical element to being an effective networker is being able to communicate with the people you're speaking with. Let's take a look at how we can improve our communication right now. So, Jim, you mentioned that you've been attending a lot of networking events. How have those been going?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I feel, when I meet people, I connect with some, and, I don't connect with others. And I'm just looking for positive ways to perhaps improve my communication skills.
Well, who do you feel like you connect with, and who do you feel like maybe you don't connect with as well?
I feel I connect with people my age. I feel that there's perhaps a disconnect to people older than me or younger than me.
Okay.
So that's where it's a little uncomfortable.
Okay. So, there's lots of reasons why we connect with someone or don't connect with someone. Certainly, age, sex, part of the country. There's a lot of different factors there. But there's one that sort of remains universal. And have you ever heard of the DISC before?
I've not.
The DISC is an online assessment that's been going on for years. And what it really does, it doesn't look at personality or skills. It really looks at your natural and adaptive behaviors. And that might be helpful to you in really understanding when you meet someone.
So again, this is an opportunity to learn about human behavior and how you're going to think about people differently as it relates to interacting with them. There's some people that are very dominant. There's some people that are very introverted, compliant, very detail-oriented. And so the saying used to be treat people the way you want to be treated. And what this is suggesting is you need to treat everybody the way they want to be treated. So as I go through this video, not only do I give my client Jim the content that what you would be getting, I also then in the side here, you can see add commentary. So there's additional comments about my comments. Okay. So it's just kind of an interesting way to go. There's masterminds where I'm actually interviewing rainmakers. So if you want to hear from a guy like Neil Dishman right here, this is an attorney who went from $400,000 to almost $2 million.
Wow.
He was a client of mine a few years ago, and so we interviewed him. How did you do it? How did you grow that book of business? And so I have all these rainmaker interviews with managing partners and other very professional attorneys. So there's just a ton of content on here, and it just keeps adding. I keep adding more and more every month. Webinars get added, et cetera. So for $300 for the year, the cost of a night out for dinner, if you go to a really nice place. If you decide that you want to go into this, you go to theoriginationstation.com and you would sign up for the $450, and the discount code is FRIEND, FRIEND. That's going to get you into this for $300 for the year. And
wow.
So highly encourage you to take a step forward, and it's maybe the first thing you need to do, the first good behavior you need to do to start thinking about business development as a part of your practice. And obviously, if anyone is interested in talking with me directly, we can flip away from my screen and go back to yours, I think.
Yep. So I actually have a question about this.
Sure.
So let's turn the screen share on. I'll share this screen. I hear you. All right. So that website that you were showing with all those videos, if you're someone like me who loves listening to videos and audio in the car, can I pull it up on my phone? Is it mobile friendly? Will it work on my phone?
It's absolutely mobile friendly. So yeah, you can just listen to the audio in the car as you're driving and listen to me have these conversations with clients in the interviews that I conduct. If you're sitting, the thing I like is when someone can sit at their desk, have lunch, and instead of plopping on YouTube and watching a Stephen Colbert, pull up Origination Station, watch 3 or 4 videos, get some real value out of your downtime, and learn something about business development that's going to make you money.
Wow, that's awesome. How long have you been doing that website for? Looks like a big project.
It's been up for about a year. I've got about 250 subscribers.
Wow, amazing.
And we're looking to continue building it out. It's been going great. And again, it's a great lead-in for people that want to work with me, but maybe they're not ready. They want to start learning some things. And I've got a couple books on Amazon as well. If you go to Amazon, type in my name, you'll see the 2 books that I've written. But, again, at the end of the day, I'm looking for highly committed attorneys that really are interested in business development, that want to take things further, and they'd like some help.
Awesome. So just to pull up these books, these are them? These 2?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's great.
Of course.
Nice.
So what's this first one about, Sales Tree Selling?
So as I mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, it's a story of 4 characters, a coach, and 3 people that need help in their business development efforts that all have different areas of concern as it relates to their futures. They meet a coach named Scott. I'll give you a little insight. It's me. And anyway, he takes them through, and it's a lot. It's going to give you a really good feel of what it's like to work with a coach, and me in particular, because it takes them through week 1 of a program they're attending, week 2, week 3, week 4. So it's really a very fast read because it's written as a story, not a how-to book. Right.
Okay. Awesome. And the next one?
That's a how-to book. That's more of a chapter by chapter. But the nice thing is, let's say you say, hey, great, Steve, I'm at these networking events. I don't even know what to say to people. I don't have an infomercial. I don't have an elevator pitch.
Right.
That would be something that's covered in the book. Or, I know LinkedIn is a tool. I'm on there, but I don't know how to use it to actually get business. Well, there's a chapter on LinkedIn in the book that will literally show you and demonstrate how you can get business as a lawyer through LinkedIn without a lot of work and effort.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, the first one, the story side, that's more like, you ever read the book Who Moved My Cheese?
So Who Moved My Cheese? Another one is called The Go-Giver.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, the one that I read one on operation consulting, I want to say it's called The Goal or something like that. And I probably have it sitting on my shelf. I could probably just look over and see where it is. but it's not a book that I would normally read because it's not on business development. It's on actually how to run like a plant, like operationally.
Like this?
But The Goal. There we go.
Yeah.
And that book was my inspiration, along with a client of mine who, thought that it would make a very good story and a very easy way to kind of take in my content if it was written that way versus a how-to book.
Yeah. I love the storybooks. And
Yeah,
5 out of 5, 5 out of 5 stars, 50 reviews, amazing.
Yeah,
Love it.
I'm doing okay.
Okay, awesome. All right, so for everyone listening, this webinar was recorded, so we will email it to you shortly. We're going to open it up for questions, actually. Steve, you have 5 minutes for questions?
I sure do.
Okay, awesome. So everyone tuning in, please bring the screen back into your view on your computers. And on the bottom right of this webinar screen, you will see a box to send us a message. That's actually the chat box. So you need to click on the chat icon on the left and change it to the question icon, and that's where we'll get your questions. We don't have too much time, so we'll probably do the first 5 questions. And if we don't get to yours, don't worry. We will email you the answers afterwards. Steve will personally, or myself, will personally get back to you. So the first question that came in comes from Rebecca. Steve, if you had to choose one of the best channels to get new business from, what would it be?
Great question. I am all about low-hanging fruit. And what that means is that why grab a 16-foot ladder, put it up on the tree, climb to the top to try to find business or apples, okay? So if you have existing relationships, friends, family, law school friends, you have clients, you have existing strategic partners, it's possible that you may not have tried or that you're not properly developing them for additional business or for quality introductions. It might be because you're uncomfortable with that idea or with that process. That is something that I would be able to help you with, but that's always going to be the best way to get business. If that doesn't exist, then you got to move higher up on the tree. You might be looking at things like networking, speaking, writing, etc.
Awesome. Okay, the next question comes from John. What do you think about using social media as a tool to finding new clients? Any specific ones you like best?
So as I mentioned, LinkedIn is the beast. That's the one that you're going to want to master. Again, it's not very complicated, but you may not recognize that every attorney right now is on it. And if you're not on it, then it's like you don't exist. So It is really even maybe more important than your website profile because that's what everyone's going to find when they look you up online. And then you've got to have a complete profile. You've got to make sure it looks good. And then, of course, it's a great way to post information, get your brand out there. I have people run into me all the time. Oh, I just saw you on LinkedIn. It's constant. Facebook and Twitter also good, but depending on what business you're in, LinkedIn is the way to go.
Got it. Awesome. All right, a question from Ariel. Are there any great conventions or seminars that you recommend attending to learn more about business dev, sales, and marketing?
Believe it or not, there aren't many that are. There are lots of sales seminars that happen throughout the country throughout the year. The problem is most of them are not specific to legal. And I feel like that even though I've worked in over 50 industries before I got into legal, I've been in from you name it, from printing to accounting to I even worked with a Caribbean medical school, if you can believe that. So, but they're all there's some elements that are the same, but legal is definitely its own little world. And so I would try to find something through me or through another specific lawyer focused coach that would. But no, there aren't a lot of those going around. I think try to catch a webinar would be the way to go, like this one.
Awesome. And a question from George. Do you recommend trying to do Google AdWords yourself or hiring a marketing agency to run it for you?
It can be very expensive. If you're in an area where you're going to pick up the kind of business that you want from that type of marketing, then you're going to want to hire someone to do it. For example, personal bankruptcy, personal injury, maybe, family law. But if you're in the bigger law world, contracts and litigation and stuff it's all going to be word of mouth, then I would suggest that you don't spend much money on pay-per-click. And you can also learn how to do it yourself. I hired a guy who's $2,000 a month to train my assistant to do it for $500. So the fact that I have an assistant, she has the capacity to learn, taught her how to do search engine optimization and pay-per-click, and now I'm not paying $2,000 a month.
Wow, awesome. I never thought about that idea. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We have time for one more question. Which one? This is a good one. Elizabeth. So Elizabeth asks, Steve, I very much enjoyed your presentation. Thanks, Elizabeth. Can you give me an idea of how you consult with law firms and other attorneys and your cost?
So it's a yes and no type of situation. I have a number of different kind of arms that I work. I'm not a marketing guy in the sense that I don't create websites. I don't create, coding and content. I'm really more of a blocking and tackling sales trainer, business development coach and trainer. So I have a couple arms. One of them is solo and small practice advisory, where I'm helping people actually get organized with how they build and develop and stay sustainable with a practice. Then there's the coaching and training specifically on business development, the e-learning, which we've spoken about with Origination Station. I also help with laterals. I work with law firms that bring in laterals. Again, people with big books of business, they want to make sure that those people are successful, and I will work to train those people and make sure that they continue to grow their business within their new firm so that that investment didn't go to waste.
Amazing. Wow, amazing. Okay, Steve, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's all the time we have now for questions. I do see a few more here, so don't worry. We will email you the answers shortly, I promise. And if you have any more questions after the webinar, feel free to email myself or Steve anytime. The emails are on the screen. And you can always go to his website to check out more and learn more about him. So once again, we want to thank everyone for joining us. This webinar was recorded. We will email it to you shortly for review. And you will also have the option to replay it as soon as it's over. Steve, we'll stay on here. We'll chat afterwards. But one more time, thank you so much for taking time to be here with us today.
Thank you, David. And thank you, everybody, for your participation.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.